I woke up to find myself reborn to the night before my engagement party. I touched my smooth, unblemished face and quickly got out of bed, rushing to the mirror. The reflection showed a person who, though not a top beauty, had delicate skin, bright eyes, and white teeth, exactly how I looked at 24, before that nightmare happened. My name is Chan Anran, and tomorrow is my engagement party with my boyfriend. We had been dating for 3 years, and after overcoming numerous obstacles, including meeting each other's families, we finally set a wedding date. In my memory, the engagement party went exceptionally smoothly. Just a week after it was over, I was assaulted by my boyfriend's brother. During the struggle, he grabbed a nearby fruit knife and slashed my face. This incident was more than a nightmare, it was a bloody wound. I was desperate to report it to the police and expose this beast's unjust actions to everyone. However, my boyfriend casually stopped me, asking why I would bother reporting it. He said it would only bring shame to me if it got out, and then he tossed me 500 yuan as compensation. My innocence, my appearance, my entire future were all destroyed by that demon in a single moment, only to be exchanged for 500 yuan. My boyfriend's family has some influence in our local area, and I simply had no recourse. I tried every possible avenue to seek justice for myself, whether by reporting to the police or seeking help online. But no one stepped forward to assist me. The man I once believed loved me more than life itself coldly dismissed me with a remark about how I was the one who devalued myself. Otherwise, how could he have ever been interested in me when I was at my most desperate and in need of comfort? The classic victim-blaming narrative. Every light-hearted word he spoke was like a knife stabbing into my heart, leaving no visible wounds but causing excruciating pain. I was engulfed in despair and agony for a whole month, and finally, one quiet night, I chose to jump off a building, thus ending my 24-year-old life, like a flower in full bloom. As I jumped off the building, I swore to myself that if I could have a second chance, I would make sure this family would suffer. I didn't expect the heavens to be watching, or maybe they really heard my wish, but I was given a second chance. I glanced at the calendar. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. is when my boyfriend and his family are coming. Siamu, Sia Lin, are you ready to face my revenge? The next morning, I dressed neatly and sat at home, waiting for their arrival. Before 10 o'clock, they arrived with a noisy procession. Leading the way, holding a bouquet of flowers, was my boyfriend, Siamu. Following behind him, a slightly immature figure, was his younger brother, Sia Lin. I am one of the few people from my hometown who attended a prestigious university. I was introduced to Siamu through someone. His family had good conditions, having made their fortune early on in the coal mining business, so they had high expectations for the education level of their future daughter-in-law. My academic achievements and appearance made me their top choice, and ran, "I've chosen you." Siamu was brimming with confidence, striding over to me, thrusting the flowers into my hands, and then taking out the gold bracelet and necklace he had tucked in his pocket. One by one, to put them on me. Finally, he gave my face a big kiss and said with a satisfied smile, "We'll get married by the end of the year. Being able to marry you is the greatest fortune of my life." Sia Lin chimed in with a smile, "Watching you two show off your love is almost enough to fill me up. When will I ever meet a girl as amazing as my sister-in-law?" Facing the two brothers, I maintained an impeccable expression on my face. But no one knew that I was already feeling so disgusted that I wanted to vomit, even wanting to raise my hand to wipe my face hard, to erase the saliva mark left by Siamu. My parents were also very satisfied with this marriage, and there were even quite a few video teams filming the engagement ceremony. I looked at their cameras, smiling until my face felt stiff. It wasn't until late at night that I finally breathed a sigh of relief, sitting in front of the mirror, removing the thick layer of makeup from my face, taking a deep breath, and suppressing the hatred in my heart. Since I have the opportunity to start over, I absolutely cannot waste it. The Sia family are not good people. They even use their local influence to bully others and are extremely arrogant. I need to find a way to obtain evidence of their crimes to report them. Only then can I truly seek revenge. After all, my own abilities are far too weak. I can only rely on myself. Acting for a few days temporarily, I will definitely not show mercy once I gather enough evidence. I originally intended to wait and see, to catch them in their wrongdoing, but I didn't expect the debt related to Sia Lin to come knocking so quickly. It was a heavily pregnant girl, supported by her family. As she came to the door, a group of 5 or 6 people arrived in full force. Such a large spectacle that it even startled me, and I hurried out to watch the commotion. The girl's father stood at the door and started yelling directly, "Sia, are you even human? You got my daughter pregnant and now you're hiding like a coward. Let me tell you, it's not happening. Either your family pays to settle this privately, or you marry her." There was no doubt that this was a romantic debt Sia Lin had incurred outside, but now the girl's father had come knocking on their door. Sia's father walked out with a stern face. first glancing at the girl's belly and then at the people they had brought with them, before coldly mocking, "Blame your daughter for belittling herself and being so careless that my son took advantage of her. This is also her child, so you can handle it however you want, but if you come to my doorstep causing trouble again, don't blame me for being impolite." The girl's father clenched his teeth. "Are you even human, you beast? My daughter was ruined by your family. And now you don't even want to take responsibility, do you?" The girl's father waved his hand with authority. "I'm putting it out here today. If you don't give us a satisfactory solution today, we're not leaving. We'll also make sure everyone in this place knows what kind of people the Xia family really are. You think you can avoid responsibility? Let me tell you, it's impossible." Seeing the situation escalate, Xiamu hurried out as well, but Xia Lin never showed up from the beginning. Xia's father was a man who had seen his fair share of big events, and he wasn't the least bit afraid. He immediately turned to Xiamu and said, "Call your uncles and have them come over. I want to see who has the guts to cause trouble at our old Xia family's doorstep." Xia's father's voice was full of vigor. Soon, the people Xiamu called arrived. With 3 minivans pulling up in quick succession, out came a group of young, strong men, each carrying a baseball bat. Their imposing stance was quite intimidating, giving off the vibe of a mob. "Today, I want to see who has the audacity to cause trouble at the old Xia family's doorstep. I advise you to wise up and leave quickly, otherwise, don't blame me if my bat doesn't see where it's going. With your group of old, weak, and sickly folks, causing any real trouble would only backfire, wouldn't it?" One of them brandished the iron rod in his hand. Stepping forward with a provocative tone, shouting aggressively, I hid to the side, as if already seeing what kind of fight was about to unfold. Taking advantage of their attention being focused on the argument, I quickly hid to the side, quietly taking out my phone from my pocket and turning on the recording function. I aimed the camera at them. After the last incident of violation, I was constantly blocked by Xiamu, and it wasn't until the 3rd day that I finally found out. But by then it was too late. All the evidence had disappeared, and even if I cried out for justice, there was no evidence to prove my grievance. But now, the evidence has been delivered to my doorstep. The power of the Xia family was accumulated bit by bit from running a building materials factory in the early years, and they kept a large group of professional enforcers, engaging in activities that straddled both legal and illegal realms. Seeing so many people called over by the Xia family, but the girl's father seemed to be truly blinded by rage, not afraid at all, but even louder. What era are we in now? You still play these mafia tricks? Just wait, this matter won't be settled so easily. My daughter almost became infertile because of this. You people from the Xia family are all spineless cowards, pushing all the blame onto her. Before he could finish his words, Xia's father slapped him across the face. My son, choosing your daughter is a blessing for your family. Now you dare to push your luck. Hit him. As the words were spoken, everyone in the van rushed towards them, and the two groups quickly engaged in a fierce brawl. However, one group consisted of professional enforcers armed with steel rods and baseball bats, while the other was made up of ordinary civilians. The outcome was already predetermined. By the time they dispersed, the girl's father was already lying on the ground, blood streaming from the back of his head, with no way to tell if he was alive or dead. At this point, someone finally panicked and hurriedly called for an ambulance. A perfectly good engagement party was ruined by this incident. However, one thing puzzled me. I remember that such a thing didn't happen in my previous life. Could it be that because I've been reborn, it caused a butterfly effect, so some things have deviated from the original course? I carefully saved the video, only to look up and see Xiamu walking in. Today is our engagement party, but someone else came to cause trouble, especially a romantic debt he incurred outside. He looked at me with a complex expression, and ran. I'm sorry to have made you witness a joke. You know my brother is currently very playful and can't settle down at all. Very playful. I looked at him in astonishment. Your brother got someone pregnant, and their parents came to seek an explanation. Yet you beat them up. Such a terrible incident, and in your eyes, it's just a matter of being very playful. I know that Xiamu has always loved his younger brother since childhood, wanting to pluck the stars from the sky to give to him. I know there are Sister Khan and Little Sister Khan in the world, but this is the first time I've seen a little brother Khan, especially with this matter now blown out of proportion. Xia Lin hasn't shown his face at all, like a turtle hiding in its shell. Considering his age, he's already 23 this year, no sense of responsibility, and unwilling to take accountability, always hiding behind his family whenever something goes wrong. These are the most direct consequences of the excessive indulgence from the Xia family. As I expected, Xiamu once again defended his younger brother, at his age, who doesn't love to play. People only mature and settle down after getting married. At the very least, he should take responsibility. He almost caused someone to be infertile for life. Shouldn't he even offer an apology? I was quite angered by his words. What does he mean by only maturing and settling down after getting married? Siamu looked at me with a stern face. Today is our engagement day, and I didn't expect such an unlucky thing to happen, since everything has been resolved. Why are you still holding on to his mistakes? You are going to be his sister-in-law in the future, and even if he gets into trouble, you should stand up for him first. Not criticize him here. He's young and inexperienced, and his family favors him a bit. Is that wrong? I stood up in anger and retorted directly. On a small scale, this is just a child, but on a larger scale, this is a matter of life. I really don't understand. He's already so old. Why do you still go out of your way to protect him? What if one day he commits murder or arson? Will you also stand in front of him immediately and make excuses, saying he's young and doesn't know any better? Seeing that I was genuinely angry, Siamu immediately softened his tone and ran. I've been busy all day, running around, and I'm very tired. I don't want to argue with you over things that haven't even happened. I told you, Xiaolin is just a child at heart. He wouldn't do something like that. I shook my head and took a step back. If I hadn't been reborn from my previous life, I might have really believed Siamu's protection of his younger brother. But I was a real victim. The pain of being violated, the despair of being threatened, and the countless times I sought help in vain, ultimately resorting to jumping off a building to end my own filthy existence. Those moments still haunt me like nightmares every day. I was truly terrified. I removed the gold necklace I had just put on today, along with the gold bracelet on my wrist. Let's just forget it. This engagement is over. Siamu's eyes immediately turned red, and he quickly came over, gripping my wrist tightly, his voice rising several pitches. Just because of this one thing, you want to break off our engagement? I didn't do anything wrong, so why should you break off our engagement with me? He gripped me tightly, his hand like an iron vice, holding me firmly in place. I looked directly into his eyes and said, because after we get married, I'm going to be part of your family, living with all of you. I'm scared of your family. The girl's parents came to make a fuss, but they just wanted an explanation. If you had at least offered some compensation and apologized, this matter could have been resolved. But what did you do? You used thug tactics to suppress them by force. Now the person is in the hospital, his life hanging in the balance, and your family still thinks he deserved it for daring to challenge them. Who would dare to marry into such a family? I took a deep breath and continued speaking. Today I am an outsider, watching this play, but what if one day I become the one you bully in your family? Who will stand up for me? I fear that such a thing might happen to me one day, so I would rather end this relationship. Siamu glared at me with clenched teeth, his anger boiling over as he said, as long as I'm here, such a thing will never happen. You know how much I love you, so it's impossible. Why do you always imagine yourself in these bad situations? But these are not fantasies, they are my truly tragic fate. Forget it. I mustered all my strength to push Siamu away. My wrist was already red and bruised from his grip. At the moment, the most urgent matters to handle were not only the issue of our engagement being called off, but also the injury of the girl's father. This was a good starting point. I had recorded a video of them committing the crime, but if I could bring the girl to testify with me, the impact would be even greater. Siamu said all these things about how much he loved me, and I believed his sweet words in my previous life, but after that incident, he didn't show the slightest bit of pain. Instead, he desperately tried to stop me from reporting it and condemning his brother. In his eyes, I would never be as important as his brother. I had already accepted this reality long ago. So his current words about how much he loves me only make me feel more disgusted and more determined in my thoughts. Siamu took a deep breath, the veins on his neck bulging, his fists clenched tightly, as if he were desperately trying to suppress his anger. Bloodshot eyes and a sinister expression made me tremble involuntarily, and I took a step back instinctively. For some reason, I had a feeling that Siamu's fist would land on my face at any moment. There is an inherent difference in strength between men and women, and if Siamu insisted on fighting, I wouldn't stand a chance. Indeed, he was glaring at me with a sinister look, cornering me. I'm giving you one last chance to take back what you just said. You know I have countless ways to keep you imprisoned by my side for the rest of your life, I said without hesitation. Even if I were to die, I would never marry into the Xia family again. This statement completely enraged Siamu. In an instant, he reached out and tightly gripped my neck. The light from behind him cast a particularly sinister and terrifying glow on his face, especially with his twisted expression resembling a vengeful ghost crawling out of hell. There was no difference at all. I frantically slapped at his hands, struggling with all my strength, but his two large hands were like iron clamps, tightly gripping my neck. The diminishing air quickly caused a crushing, heart-wrenching pain in my lungs. I treated you so well, I loved you so much. How could you break off our engagement over such a trivial matter? My face was already turning a purplish blue, yet I still tried to break free. Siamu, let go. But at that moment, someone suddenly burst in and saved my life. It was Sia Lin, rushing in. "It's over, something happened to Big Brother, that old man was beaten into the ICU, and whether he can survive is uncertain." Siamu abruptly let go of his hand. I slumped to the ground, clutching my neck with my hand, struggling to breathe deeply as tears and snot mixed into a mess, and my chest ached unbearably. If it weren't for Sia Lin suddenly bursting in just now, I might really have been strangled to death here. Now I'm certain, this whole family is insane and has a severe tendency toward violence. Sia Lin didn't even look at me but hurriedly said to his brother, "Brother, things have escalated now, what should we do?" I only wanted to teach them a lesson, but I never expected it to turn deadly. Although I was standing in the corner, I clearly saw that the stick hit the old man right on the back of his head, not to mention an elderly person. Even a young man wouldn't be able to withstand such a blow. He's now in the ICU, and whether he survives is uncertain, Siamu said sternly, showing some dissatisfaction. "It's just a small matter, what's there to be afraid of? Just spend more money to smooth things over with everyone. Even if the old man dies, no one will trace it back to us." Hearing this, Sia Lin's heart finally settled. I was almost scared to death just now. If something really happened to the old man, I would have ended up in jail. Now I realize, who in the entire junction would dare to meddle in our Sia family's affairs? Stay at home for a while to avoid attention, and don't go wandering around. After all, you didn't participate in the actual fight, so even if there's any blame, it won't fall on you. There are plenty of thugs involved. Just push one out as a scapegoat." Siamu finally turned to look at me after giving these instructions. He crouched down in front of me, looking at me as if I were an insignificant ant on the ground. With just a slight lift of his foot, he could make me disappear from this world. That contemptuous gaze sent shivers down my spine. This was the closest I've ever been to death. Even jumping off a building in my moments of despair didn't scare me this much. And ran. "I'm giving you one last chance. Do you choose to break up with me or get married?" "Get married. I've learned my lesson." Just now, my attitude wasn't very good. I was startled by the situation and took out my anger on you. "We've been together for so long. How could I bear to part with you?" Everything I said was just angry words. "Don't take it to heart." Siamu nodded in satisfaction upon hearing the answer he wanted, then reached out and pulled me up. "I knew you were the most obedient and smartest. Only you truly understand my heart." Siamu was quite good looking, and when he was younger, he didn't know how many young girls he had seduced outside. The two brothers' ways of handling things were identical, neither rejecting nor taking responsibility. But when things got out of hand, they would suppress the matter with two sticks and continue living their glamorous lives. The only pity was that I only learned about all these things after I died. Siamu didn't let me go home that night. As usual, he held me tightly from behind. I pretended to be obedient and leaned against his chest, closing my eyes. Only when the even breathing of the person beside me reached my ears did I carefully slip out of his embrace. The moonlight was beautiful that night. With the moonlight outside the window, I could clearly see Siamu's face. I had given him my true heart and truly loved him, wanting to spend a lifetime with him, but who would have thought that fate could be so cruel? At this moment, seeing him so defenseless, I almost wanted to go straight to the kitchen and grab a knife. Only then could I vent the hatred in my heart. My last shred of reason prevailed, suppressing this insane thought. I couldn't throw away the rest of my life for such a despicable person. Besides, the family I want to avenge is the Sia family as a whole. Compared to Siamu, Sia Lin is even more deserving of death. I didn't sleep all night, my mind racing with plans for revenge. The video I have now is the most important, and the only evidence I possess, but this alone is not enough. The next morning, I got up early as usual and continued to show concern for Siamu. This indeed dispelled his suspicions. After breakfast, he forcefully put the bracelet and necklace back on me. "Stay by my side. I won't treat you badly. I have some other things to deal with these 2 days, so it might be a couple of days before I can pick you up to go out and play." I nodded vigorously. "It's okay, we can go out and play together whenever you have time." At first, everything was agreed upon. After our engagement, we would travel to the Maldives. Yesterday, Siamu made it sound like a trivial matter, but it couldn't be resolved so easily in today's society. Where can such occurrences of gangsterism be tolerated? Even a casual post on the internet can stir up massive public outcry. He's now busy cleaning up after his brother, leaving him with no more time for me, which gives me some relief. After leaving the Sia family, I went straight to the hospital. I found out which ward the old man was in. As soon as I pushed the door open, I saw a frail young woman sobbing loudly by the bedside. The old man on the bed wore a breathing mask, and the nearby monitor displayed his weak vital signs. Although he had survived the surgery, it was clear that his time was almost up. I walked up and patted her on the shoulder, which visibly startled her. Her eyes swollen like walnuts, she stared at me with full vigilance, even grabbing a fruit knife from the side. "Who are you?" Another envoy sent by the Sia family to persuade me. I shook my head. "I'm just like you, a victim of the Sia family's persecution." I know what happened between you and them, so I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to join forces with me to seek revenge against the Xia family. Li Muzi tightly gripped the knife in her hand. Why should I believe what you say? The Xia family has been harassing me non-stop these past 2 days, trying to get me to settle this matter. What if you're working with them? I shook my head again. I would never be associated with those disgusting scumbags from the Xia family. I was supposed to have a very happy marriage, but the day before the engagement, I was violated by that beast Xia Lin, with no way out. The Xia family blocked me from reporting it just as they're doing to you now. Due to their power, I had no options, and just when I was at my most desperate, fate led me to learn about your situation. Reliving the pain of my past life was like tearing open a scab, causing the wound to bleed profusely once again. The idea of being reborn is just too absurd. So I half-jokingly told the whole story. I just want to send the Xia family straight to hell. I don't believe that with just a single building materials factory, they can truly become the local overlords of the entire Jiangqing. With their connections in both legal and illegal circles, the Xia family can indeed be called local overlords now. Ask around Jiangqing, and you'll find no one bold enough to offend them. If you curse the Xia family in front of others, by the next morning, someone will definitely come with a stick to smash your place. The people of the entire Jiangqing had long been filled with deep resentment towards the actions of the Xia family. Perhaps it was the intense pain and hatred in my eyes that made Li Muzi hesitate for a moment before ultimately choosing to believe my words. She turned her head to glance at the elderly man lying on the bed, and tears uncontrollably fell from her eyes once more. What I regret most now is telling these things to my father. Knowing his character, he couldn't bear to see his precious daughter treated so badly. He immediately went to confront them, and now he's been hospitalized. The doctor says his condition is very poor. Even if he survives the surgery, he won't have many days left. It's all my fault. If only I had swallowed my grievances, Li Muzi said, and in the end, she couldn't help but burst into loud sobs, taking all the blame upon herself. But she was innocent, and the old man was innocent as well. The biggest scoundrels in this whole affair were the Xia family. I hugged him tightly, patted his shoulder, and gently comforted him. It's okay, now that we're together, we'll definitely find a way to send the Xia family to hell. I blocked all contact information of the Xia family and also switched to a new phone card. I stayed in the hospital with Li Muzi. Her emotional state is very poor. She hasn't eaten or drunk anything for days. Staying by her father's side, her eyes already swollen like a rabbit's. However, she brought me some good news. It turns out that last night, when the Xia family came to coerce and bribe him into settling the matter, he secretly recorded the conversation. For us, this is another great opportunity to turn the situation around. After obtaining his consent, I directly posted the video on the internet, and even topped up a significant amount of money to ensure it gained enough attention. Moreover, I also searched for some larger official accounts on the internet and tried to submit the video to them. The account we used to post the video was new and might not attract a lot of attention, but if it were an official account, that could be different. After trying over 100 official accounts, one finally agreed to help share our video. The account had millions of followers, but it was based in Chengqing, our neighboring city, not Jiangqing. All arrested according to the law. This video, once posted online along with the official account's broadcast, has garnered an unexpectedly high number of views. It was like dropping 2 drops of ice water into a hot oil pan, instantly causing a huge uproar. I've really seen it all now. I never thought there would still be such a mafia in today's society. They're really going all out with the beating. Does anyone know what happens in the follow-up video? The police in Jiangqing, shouldn't they do something? This has gotten completely out of hand. He slept with someone's daughter, got her pregnant, and then refused to take responsibility, and now he even dares to take the initiative to start a fight. Animals like him deserve at least 10 years in prison. Kick me when there's an update. I really want to know how this family of animals will end up in hell. It's really disgusting. Another day of fear and hatred towards men. I looked at the endless comments under the video and a satisfied smile appeared on my face. The situation has escalated to the point where it's finally gaining some attention. Under my arrangement, Li Muzi posted a video of her father lying in a hospital bed with a breathing mask on the internet, and also exposed the recording of the Xia family threatening her earlier. All the evidence was solid and was released all at once. Eager netizens flooded the Jiangqing police with messages, and some savvy netizens even managed to trace and find the phone numbers of Xiamu and Xia Lin, along with all their contact information, which they posted online in one go. What awaited them was the online backlash of millions of netizens, and I wasn't idle during this time. I knew that only by completely eradicating the Xia family, this cancer, would this matter be truly over. The internet has no memory. Once the dust settles, if the Sia family realizes that I was behind this, the abyss that awaits me will be inevitable. Distracted by these issues, Siamu hasn't had the chance to come after me. I still remember the multiple lives the Sia family has taken over the past 2 years, and I visited each of them one by one, indeed, all the victims. Upon hearing that I was there to help them seek justice, immediately vented their grievances. Recounting everything that had happened to them, I recorded these into short videos and uploaded them all. When the wall falls, everyone pushes. As long as this matter reaches a sufficient level of public attention, the Sia family, no matter how powerful they are, will not escape punishment. Under the influence of online public opinion, these videos quickly spread across the country, even reaching some small remote cities in the northwest. Where people became aware of the Sia family of Jiangqing, the police quickly intervened in the matter, and upon investigation, they found that the dirty deeds behind the Yi family were far more than just bullying men and women. Girls who had been bullied by Xia Lian and Xiamu before began to speak out, and even their family's construction materials factory was soon implicated. An anonymous report claimed that their factory's substandard materials had caused houses to collapse within a month. Killing a family of 3, this incident dates back 10 years ago, when the internet wasn't as developed. Now, it has been dug up by netizens. The situation has escalated like an avalanche, and no one can control the direction of public opinion anymore. I moved to another city and hid there for a month before daring to return to Jiangqing. Of course, during that time, I was also keeping an eye on the online public opinion trends. Li Muzi held a live broadcast. With the background being the intensive care unit, I recounted everything from beginning to end, choking up countless times when emotions ran high. Jiangqing is just an ordinary second-tier small city, and even in the summer, it attracts quite a few tourists. No one would have thought that within such a city, there exists a tumor like the Xia family. When I returned home, my parents were anxiously watching me. They were afraid that during my time in hiding, I might have been targeted by the Xia family, but fortunately, Xiamu did not harass my family, perhaps because he currently has no time to attend to me. The second day after I returned home, another piece of good news came. The entire Xia family was arrested according to the law, and they await their trial. When Xiamu was detained, I went to see him once. I don't know what he has been through during this time, but he has rapidly lost weight, with sunken eye sockets, and is now just skin and bones. He had already realized that the mastermind behind all this was me, someone he hated so much that he wanted to rush over and kill me through the glass wall, but his hands were still cuffed, and as soon as he moved, the 2 police officers guarding him pinned him down firmly in his seat. He glared at me, his voice breaking as he asked, why did you do this?" I looked at him calmly, the overwhelming hatred in my heart surging and fermenting once again. In truth, only I know that the only way to truly let go is for this entire family to die. Merely letting them spend the rest of their lives in prison is still too merciful. I casually tucked a strand of hair behind my ear and calmly recounted to him everything that happened in my previous life. Of course, to avoid causing panic, I only said it was a nightmare I had once. Xiamu screamed in agony, "I treated you so well, and you're destroying our entire family over a dream, Chen Anren. You're a white-eyed wolf, an ungrateful wretch. Is this a nightmare? I know it in my heart. Anyway, your family has already received the retribution you deserved. For the rest of your life, you'll reflect in prison." This was the last thing I said to Xiamu before I rushed out of the police station. Standing in the sunlight, I was already uncontrollably weeping, my hands trembling unconsciously, when I saw Xiamu and Xia Lin being detained with my own eyes. The hatred in my heart finally found its best outlet. Heaven gave me another chance at life, and this time, I finally managed to do something right, avoiding the tragedy of the previous time. This time, I acted before anyone could react. I released the video first. If it had been like the last life, he would have already intercepted my video traffic, and no matter how many complaint videos I made, they wouldn't have gained any attention. Li Muzi's father eventually passed away. On the day of the funeral, I went to see her. Those days of fighting side by side had already made her consider me her best friend. I still remember that day when it rained heavily, and he threw himself into my arms, crying like a child, repeating over and over in my ear that she no longer had a father. I could only hold her tightly, and not a single comforting word could escape my lips. I didn't know how to console someone who had lost a loved one, so I chose to silently accompany her. But fortunately, the mastermind behind it all would also be accompanying them on their descent into hell. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Boyfriend took me to meet his parents, but on the way, he knocked me out with a brick. When I opened my eyes again, I saw familiar graffiti on the mud wall. It was something I had drawn as a child at Uncle Lee's next door. Boyfriend was haggling with Uncle Lee. 8,000. She's a college student. 3,000. That's the most I can offer. You've already slept with him. Who knows if he's the father? Instinctively, I tried to raise my hand, but a sharp pain shot through my wrist, and my arm felt unbearably heavy, unable to move at all. I tried to wiggle my fingers, and gradually, my hands regained sensation, only to realize that they were bound behind my back. The more I struggled, the tighter the bindings became. I tried to call for help, but my mouth wouldn't open. Something was sealing it shut, probably transparent tape, and with each movement, my entire face burned with pain. A faint whimper escapes the throat, incredibly weak. The sound of haggling squeezes through the gaps in the earthen wall. 8,000. She's a college student. After all, 3,000, that's all. You've already slept with her. Who knows if she's carrying your child? This voice was all too familiar to me. It was my boyfriend and Uncle Lee from the neighboring village. I recognized this room as Uncle Lee's woodshed. The messy graffiti on the walls were drawn by me when I was a mischievous child. I moved to the pile of firewood, lifted my bound feet, and kicked hard against it. The wooden door, struck by the impact, emitted a dull thud-thud sound. Uncle Lee, come in and take a look. It's me, Xiaoxue, the child you've watched grow up. The conversation outside paused, and then Uncle Lee asked, what was that sound? Her boyfriend said, where did you lock her up? Did she wake up? Isn't she awake now? Come and see me quickly. Help me. Uncle Lee's voice came. Let's talk in the yard. This woman is too noisy. I increased the force of my kick on the door, feeling my ankle go numb and my knee stiff and painful. Help. Save me. Uncle Lee's impatient voice came through. Shanzi, hurry up and check the woodshed. Your wife is awake. I stopped kicking the door and shuffled inside, wiggling my way to a spot 3 steps away from the door to avoid being hit if it swung inward. Footsteps grew closer, their depth and rhythm varying. Shanzi, my childhood desk mate, he was a good person, always helping me move my desk when we switched rows every week. Later, when I entered middle school, he suddenly became lame and stopped coming to school. No one helped me move my desk anymore, and every Monday, as I struggled to move my desk by myself, I really missed him. With a creak, the broken door swung inward, and blinding sunlight streamed in, making it hard for me to open my eyes. I blinked to adjust to the sudden brightness and saw Shanzi still standing at the door, staring at me in a daze. The sunlight behind him outlined his burly figure. 5 years had passed, and he had grown from a little boy into a strong man. Woo. My mouth is sealed shut, and I can only whimper through my throat. Shanzi, it's me, let go of me quickly. Shanzi's gaze was cold, and with a slap across my face, half of it burned with pain. You bitch, behave yourself. He didn't recognize me. I endured the pain, stared into Shanzi's eyes, and blinked my eyelashes desperately, sobbing as I begged to be recognized. It's me. I'm Xiaoxue. Slap. Another vicious slap landed on my face, and I was knocked to the ground by the force, my head ringing. The Shanzi in my impression, what a gentle and kind person. He used to spoil me the most. Whenever it rained and the road to school flooded, he would take off his shoes and carry me through the mud, stepping over puddles. But now he doesn't recognize me. I quickly turned my body, putting my back to him, and waved vigorously. The little flower on the back of my hand was made by him with the tip of a pencil when I was in the first year of middle school. We called it a tattoo, very fashionable. The sound of breaking wind came from behind, and when I turned around, I saw Shanzi kick out fiercely. What are you waving at? Still want to be untied? I guess you didn't get beaten enough to feel comfortable. I couldn't dodge in time and was kicked hard to the ground, my face slamming into the dirt, leaving me with a nose full of moldy, musty grime. I struggled to sit up, shaking my head desperately, my eyes stinging, and a panicked whimper escaping my throat. Shanzi glared at me coldly, pulled a vine from the pile of firewood, and started beating me mercilessly, all the while cursing under his breath. My dad was right. Women you buy need to be beaten, and they'll behave once they're stunned. The vine swung down viciously towards my head. My hands were tied behind my back, making it difficult to move, so I twisted my body to the left to dodge the attack, but my shoulder still took a solid hit, leaving half my body numb with pain. Shanzi wasn't appeased. His eyes were red with rage. Still dodging. Let's see if you can dodge faster than my whip. The second lash swiftly rose and fell straight toward my head. I twisted my body to the right, dodging the head strike, but the whip landed heavily on my back, the force propelling me forward and causing me to stumble. The surroundings were eerily silent, only my rapid breathing and the sound of the cane cutting through the air. Soon, the third lash came down again, straight toward my head. I was terrified, my legs propelling me straight into the pile of dry firewood, burying my head in the dead leaves. Branches mixed in the leaves scratched my skin and poked into my nose and ears. Ignoring the pain, I tightly closed my eyes and desperately burrowed deeper. Debris shot up my nostrils, carrying with it a foul musty smell that filled my nasal passages, unbearably uncomfortable, but I couldn't stop. I had to protect my head. It's too important. If your head gets hurt and you become stupid, you'll never get another chance to say who you are. The whip struck my back and legs, pain making me dizzy and disoriented. Ha, fun. You want to crawl through the hole? Ha, go on, crawl. Can't crawl anymore, can you? I'll beat you to death. He was tired of pulling, so he started kicking. With a crisp crack, a searing pain shot through his lower leg, likely broken. My consciousness blurred, and the pain caused me to faint. I don't know how much time had passed. I suddenly woke up, feeling an icy chill all over my body. Looking up, I saw Fiancé arrogantly holding an empty basin, laughing wildly. My heart tightened. Fiancé, who had always doted on me since I was a child, now met me without recognizing me. Pushing me to the brink of death, I stared intently into Fiancé's eyes, my throat emitting a painful whimper. Perhaps seeing my battered state, Fiancé softened his attitude and asked, "Is there anything you want to say?" I nodded desperately. Fiancé slightly frowned. "Don't scream randomly, or else I'll make sure you never speak again in your life." I continued to nod. Fiancé extended his calloused hand, ripped off the tape from my face, and said, "Speak up, stubborn woman." The tape hurt a lot when it was pulled off, but I couldn't care about the pain. I cried out tremblingly, "I'm Xiaoxue, Xiaoxue." Fiancé's eyes narrowed, and after a moment of thought, he pointed to the crooked words on the wall. "You saw these 2 words, right? Even a fool knows that reads Xiaoxue." I explained, "No, I really am Xiaoxue. Look, a flower, I have it on my hand." I turned my body, revealing the back of my hand tied behind me, which had a small flower on it. Fiancé coldly glanced at it, then suddenly leaned down, his large hand gripping my chin. "And he stuffed a handful of broken twigs into my mouth," he said viciously. "I told you not to deceive me. I hate liars the most." Branches tore my tongue and pierced my throat, causing a burning pain. I felt a sweetness in my throat, and then gushed out large amounts of blood. Seeing the blood, Fiancé stopped stuffing the broken branches and threw me to the ground forcefully. Explaining from above, "The flower on Xiaoxue's hand is much smaller than yours, and the color is also darker. I don't know how you knew Xiaoxue also has a flower, but you can't possibly be her." I dug up the broken branches stuck in my throat and vomited out several mouthfuls of blood. When I opened my mouth, my throat felt like a cracked gong, only able to emit low moans, unable to utter a single word. "That really was the flower you personally stabbed onto her. It's just that the flower, as I grew up, faded as well, and you can't recognize it anymore." Tears blurred my vision as I tried to explain in a choked voice, but all that came out was blood froth, over and over again. Fiancé couldn't make out anything. I could only fret in vain. He rubbed his temples and spoke in a deep voice, "You can't be Xiaoxue. Xiaoxue isn't as beautiful as you." I shook my head, opened my mouth wide, and tried to explain, pulling at my sore throat. But all that came out was a gust of wind and a mouthful of fresh blood. He listened for a long time, but couldn't make out a single word. Suddenly, he forcefully pushed my head to the ground, pressing my cheek tightly against the rough and cold surface. "So eager to be Xiaoxue, then I'll fulfill your wish. Do you know what you lack compared to Xiaoxue? Xiaoxue isn't as pretty as you." Fiancé pulled out a dagger from his waist. "I'll carve a couple of scars on you, and you'll be as ugly as Xiaoxue." I sobbed, unable to utter a single complete word. I had indeed become prettier than before. More accurately, I had become fairer. After all, a fair complexion can hide 3 flaws. I had worked hard to achieve this fair skin. The knife sliced through the skin, and hot blood trickled down from the tip of my nose. Pain, so painful. My face is ruined." He made one cut after another, and I kicked my legs desperately, trying to escape. "Don't move around. If my knife slips and cuts your neck, that wouldn't be fun at all." I hit his lame foot with a knee, and he lost his balance, falling forward and crashing into the pile of firewood. At that moment, the door creaked open. Uncle Lee stood at the door, his fingertips trembling slightly as he gripped the doorknob, witnessing the gruesome scene. "I told you to teach your wife a lesson, not to beat her to death." I pulled at my wind-torn face, my voice hoarse. "Uncle Lee, it's me, I'm Xiaoxue." My voice was extremely hoarse, barely intelligible. As I spoke, a mouthful of blood choked my throat, and I vomited a pile. When I looked up again, I saw Uncle Lee squatting down, staring straight at my disfigured face. Uncle Lee heard me. I was extremely excited. "Xiaoxue?" Uncle Lee asked in a deep voice. Her voice trembled slightly. I nodded desperately. "Yes, it's Xiaoxue, the Xiaoxue you watched grow up." Uncle Lee stared at my face, growing more and more shocked. "Didn't you go to college?" Why are you here? I croaked out my explanation, my throat aching. Sold, bad people. Uncle Lee scratched his head, suddenly realizing, the college student I bought back, is that you? It's me, it's me, it's me. I nod frantically, tears welling up. Isn't this like a flood washing away the Dragon King's temple, harming one's own family? As Uncle Lee was about to untie me, Shanzi stepped forward and pulled his hand away. Dad, don't listen to her nonsense. She must have seen the words on the wall and is just making things up. Xiaoxue isn't as pretty as she claims. Following Shanzi's gaze, Uncle Lee saw the crooked words on the wall. Xiaoxue, Xiaoxue, Xiaoxue. The handwriting varies in depth and thickness. That was when I was practicing calligraphy, drawing in their woodshed. You must remember my name in the future. We are the best of friends. Childhood words still linger faintly in my ears, yet now we meet but do not recognize each other. I was overwhelmed with anxiety, spitting blood incessantly. Uncle Lee looked at me, then at the words on the wall, and slapped Shanzi across the face. You brat, don't you know that a girl changes greatly over 18 years? Shanzi was shocked. Dad, you have to look carefully. Xiaoxue is the daughter of Chu Ba. Does she look like him? Does she? Uncle Lee looked at me carefully, pondered for a moment, and scratched his head. Not really. I was overwhelmed with anxiety. Coughed up a large mouthful of blood, and urgently said, ID card. It's in my clothes, the ID card. It's in the inner pocket. Uncle Lee followed my gaze and reached into the inner pocket of my clothes. There really is an ID card. Let me see what it says on the card. Fortunately, before my boyfriend betrayed me, he didn't search me. Seeing the ID card being taken out, I finally collapsed and fainted. I woke up again in the bedroom, my body wrapped like a large dumpling in gauze. My broken legs slightly raised and suspended from the rafters by a white silk cord. A commotion could be heard outside. Congratulations to Shanzi on marrying his bride. Among the noisy chatter, I immediately recognized that voice as my father's. I opened my mouth to call for help, but my throat was so hoarse that all that came out was a raspy sound, whimpering and sobbing. Even I couldn't hear myself clearly. My throat is hoarse and sore, enduring the pain in every bone in my body. I struggled to sit up, biting and pulling at the bandage hanging from the rafters until it finally snapped. I rolled off the bed, and my broken leg couldn't bear any weight, causing me to tumble headfirst onto the ground. The pain was so intense that I nearly passed out. Gritting my teeth, I regained my composure. I crawled bit by bit towards the bedroom door, but no matter how hard I tried, it wouldn't open. It seemed to be locked from the outside. I clung to the wall, shuffling to the window. Where I saw the villagers feasting outside, I banged on the glass. Help me, save me. As if guided by some telepathic connection, my dad, who was eating heartily, suddenly looked up and our eyes met. Then, my dad patted Uncle Lee on the shoulder and pointed in my direction. Why is there a mummy at your place? Didn't my dad recognize me? I touched my own cheek, the sensation rough against my hand. The coarse gauze wrapped tightly around my face. Uncle Lee pointed in my direction and said to my father, I'm sorry, my daughter-in-law fell and got hurt. Then, with a displeased expression, he strode toward me. What daughter-in-law? I'm not. I frantically tugged at the bandages on my face, but they were wound too tightly, and nothing came off. I tried to call out Dad, but only a weak, broken whisper came out, whimpering. Dad seemed to sense something was wrong and followed behind Uncle Lee. I'll go take a look too. Uncle Lee's face stiffened for a moment, then he put on a smile and pushed my dad back to the table. Let the young people handle their own affairs. With that, he slapped Shanzai on the head. Shanzai was busy gnawing on a pig trotter, looking utterly confused as he looked up. All you know is eating. Your wife is awake, go and bring her some soup. Seeing me pulling at the bandage, Shanzai quickly poured the soup from the basin into a bowl and limped towards me. As Shanzai got closer, I grew more frantic. The more frantic I became, the harder it was to loosen the bandage, and the more it pulled on the wound on my face, causing a burning pain. A warm sensation spread, and strings of blood droplets fell from my chin. The wound split open, the pain spreading across my entire cheek, making my head dizzy, yet I did not give up. Finally, I managed to loosen the bandage. No, I just needed to go faster, unwinding the bandage layer by layer. The more I pulled, the more blood came. When Dad saw this, he nudged Old Lee beside him. Why don't you go take a look too? Give him some good advice. Don't let him dwell on things on such a joyous day. I was so anxious I could only glare, but Dad couldn't see it. Uncle Lee nodded. All right, then I'll go take a look too. Take your time eating. With a smile, Uncle Lee said this and turned around, his face darkening as he charged towards me. The turban bandage was down to the last 2 turns, and the cold wind pierced through the sparse lattice gauze, hitting my face, cold and painful. At that moment, Shanzi burst in and pushed me to the ground with a forceful grip. He hissed in a low, angry voice, Are you crazy? Why are you tearing the bandage? Luckily, you didn't finish tearing it off. Or else you'd rip the skin off. He took the bandage from my hand and rewrapped my head for me. I glared at him angrily, but could only let the bandage tighten around me, covering my face completely. I couldn't beat him to begin with, and now with my injuries, it's even more impossible. Uncle Lee, walking behind, closed the door, drew the curtains, and then called Fiancé to help carry me to the bed. After lying down, Fiancé sat to my left, scooped up a spoonful of chicken soup, and was about to feed me. I turned my head away. It was too hot, and the steam from the spoon burned my lips. Uncle Lee straightened my head and roughly held my chin, forcing my mouth open. Drink some. Chicken soup is very nourishing. It will help you recover faster. Taking the opportunity, Fiancé poured the scalding chicken soup down my throat. I coughed violently, a large hand covering my face. Immediately after, Uncle Lee's stern voice rang out, "Don't you dare spit." Fiancé tried to calm things down beside me. "Don't worry, even though the process wasn't exactly honorable, you're my wife, legally and properly married. Look, aren't all these villagers here to celebrate with you?" I glared at him fiercely. "Who said I wanted to be your wife? The villagers know that his wife is me. Does my dad know? If my dad knew, he would be furious that his hard-earned daughter, just starting college, was tricked back into the village." But now, I could only glare at them helplessly. Fiancé scooped up another large spoonful of soup and brought it to my mouth. "Are you going to eat it yourself, or do you want us to help you?" I blew directly onto the spoon, but Fiancé didn't give me much time before pouring the soup into my mouth. It was hot, but much milder than before. Uncle Lee smiled faintly, his wrinkles bunching up as he said, "That's more like it. You need to eat well to recover properly. Don't worry. Once you're fully recovered and everything is settled, I'll go congratulate the in-laws." I rolled my eyes and thought to myself, eat well, recover, and see how I tell Dad about this. Fiancé chimed in, "My dad is the only doctor in our village. Our family is quite reputable in the village, and we are a good match for you." Uncle Lee stroked his beard and said, "It's fortunate that you came to our house. If you had gone to someone else's, treating these injuries would have cost at least tens of thousands of yuan. Who would be willing to spend that kind of money?" I glared at him fiercely. "These injuries are all thanks to your son." They stood on either side, firmly guarding the edge of the bed, alternately trying to persuade me. The voices outside grew fainter, and the guests at the feast gradually dispersed. I felt drowsy and was just about to doze off when I heard a loud thud. Following the sound, I saw the door slam inward against the wall, and there stood my father at the doorway, holding a blood-stained ID card. "Why is my daughter's ID card here with you?" The voice trembled with urgency. As he spoke, his eyes kept glancing in my direction. I strained my eyes and nodded vigorously at my dad. It's me. Your daughter is right here." The old man's eyelashes suddenly twitched, and pointing in my direction, he asked tremulously, "Who are you?" I nodded vigorously, my throat emitting a trembling sob. "No mistake, I am your daughter." Uncle Lee quickly stepped in front of me, blocking my view, while Fiancé covered my mouth. Glaring at me fiercely, Uncle Lee explained, "She is my daughter-in-law, and as for your daughter's ID card, I don't know how it got here. Maybe it fell out while she was playing." I frantically kicked my legs. "Don't believe him. Look at me again. I am your daughter." The sound of a button press echoed, as Dad was making a phone call. Immediately after, my phone's ringtone came from my dad's phone. But on me, there was no phone ringtone. My phone had already been confiscated by my boyfriend. Oh, wait, how did I hear another phone ringtone? Just from a farther distance, Dad heard it too and bolted out into the yard, loudly, and Fiancé quickly let go of me and rushed out after my dad, leaving the door unlatched. Through the half-open door, I saw my boyfriend frantically pulling out a pink phone from the guest seating area. It was my phone. Dad acted quickly, lunging forward to pin the man down, snatching the ringing phone and checking the screen. "It's confirmed, that's my phone." The man Dad tackled is my boyfriend, Suemo. His father pinned him to the ground, shouting, "Where is my daughter? What have you done with my daughter?" Suemo was instantly confused. "What daughter?" His father slapped him across the left cheek. "Let me show you what daughter." Another slap landed on his right cheek. "This phone is my daughter's." Sumo's cheeks were swollen, and upon seeing Uncle Lee and Fiancé rush out, she was even more confused, her voice trembling. She said, "What exactly do you want? You said 3,000, and I gritted my teeth, agreeing to sell for 3,000, but why did you call her father over?" Dad is very smart. Hearing this, he quickly figured out what had happened. Uncle Lee and Fiancé are also very smart. Knowing they were caught, they both knelt down in front of my dad. "Big brother, we're sorry. We didn't know she was your daughter at first. Think about it. If we really had designs on your daughter, we could have just knocked her out on the road. Why would we let this punk earn 3,000 bucks? Dad's face was dark as he had Uncle Lee fetch some rope to tightly bind this mastermind. Then, he brought him into my bedroom to discuss a solution together. Now that things have come to this, there must be a resolution. I looked at Suemo kneeling on the ground, then at the father and son standing beside him with their heads bowed, feeling an indescribable sense of satisfaction. Dad is awesome. I will make those who bully me pay the price they deserve. Excitedly, I sat up from the hospital bed, glaring viciously at these criminals, wishing I could personally punch them. Sumo Hong's eyes were red-rimmed, and he knelt straight. I won't make money from you anymore, okay? I'll return all 3,000 yuan to you. Just pretend you've never seen me. Dad understands me, raising his hand to give Suemo a heavy slap. Never seen that before. If it weren't for you, would my daughter have returned to the village? Would she be injured like this? Sumo's face turns red. Consider it my free escort for your daughter back to the village. Her injuries now. They weren't caused by me. It has nothing to do with me. Dad turns to look at me, and I keep giving meaningful glances towards Shanzi, grunting repeatedly. It was Shanzi. Shanzi did it. Father's fierce gaze swept toward Shanzi. Did you do it? Shanzi shivered in fear and spoke cautiously. At the time, I didn't know she was your daughter. If I had known, I wouldn't have dared even with 10 times the courage. Father grabbed a wooden stick from the side. So you broke my daughter's leg, huh? He was about to break Shanzi's leg as well. Laoli stepped in front of his father and said with a smile, "Calm down, we're helping your daughter heal her leg, I promise. Once it's healed, she'll be as lively as ever, as if it was never broken," his father said through gritted teeth. "And you've also made my daughter mute, haven't you?" Oldly slapped Shanzi on the back of his head, ignoring the aggrieved look on Shanzi's face, and turned around to continue smiling. "It's a minor issue. Guaranteed to be cured." Absolutely able to speak again in 3 months, Dad's face was stern, not uttering a word. Oldly grabbed a soft rattan whip from the side and started beating Shanzi. "You little brat, I'm going to break your arm today. See if you dare to hit anyone again." Shanzi, with his legs and feet not working well, couldn't run fast, so he crouched down with his hands over his head. The vines, whistling through the air, landed on his hands, arms, and back. Soon, his clothes were torn, revealing faint blood marks. Laoli continued to beat him while cursing, "I'll beat you to death, you bastard." Luckily, our family runs a medical clinic, and we've been practicing medicine for generations. Otherwise, treating your leg and throat would cost at least 10,000. Can you afford that? Hearing the mention of 10,000, my father's shoulders trembled, and he hesitantly looked at me. The tuition was already a struggle, pieced together from various sources. We're still deep in debt now. Where would we find the money for treatment? I opened my mouth, sobbing, my heart screaming. It's just 10,000 yuan. I can treat it myself. I do part-time jobs in the city, tutoring for 200 a day. I can earn 10,000 in 2 months. Let's break his leg too, stab his throat to make him mute, let him know what it feels like to be in unbearable pain. But I couldn't utter a single word. Only the sound of the wind howling in my throat. So much so that even I couldn't make out what I was trying to shout. Laoli said with a forced smile, "How about this? We'll add another 30,000 yuan as betrothal gifts, to make sure Shashua's wedding is a grand affair." I shook my head desperately. "Dad, I don't want to marry." Dad hesitated, glancing at me with a slight frown. "My daughter is a college student." Laoli pointed at Suemo, speaking cautiously. "But your daughter, she's no longer a virgin. This guy has already slept with her. Our village is quite traditional, especially when it comes to a girl's reputation. A girl who loses her virginity before marriage can hardly get married, let alone receive a betrothal gift." Suemo shrank into a corner, trembling as he explained, "It was your daughter who wanted to date me. Go ask around in the city, who's still a virgin when they're dating these days." Father's forehead veins bulged with anger as he grabbed a stick and swung it down on Sumo's head without hesitation. "Why don't you ask around the village, who among those who harm innocent young girls hasn't had their legs broken?" Suemo, already bound and unable to move freely, was struck directly on the forehead, causing blood to flow. Shanzi watched the commotion, enjoying the drama. Hit him hard. It's all his fault that Shashua suffered so much." Uncle Li glared at Dashan, then stepped in front of my father, gripping his shoulder and advised, "Calm down, a little lesson is enough. We can't afford to kill someone." With that, he snatched the wooden stick from my father's hand. "Luckily, you sold her to our family. If you had sold her elsewhere, you might never see your daughter again in your lifetime. I see how dangerous it is outside, and your daughter has lost her virtue. I think she should marry into our family. We don't mind, and we will treat Xiaoxua well in the future. Besides, our family is close to yours, so we can visit and take care of each other." I shook my head desperately. "Don't agree. I don't want to marry." I desperately tried to explain, but no words came out of my mouth, and instead, I pulled on the wound in my throat, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. Dad patted my head gently and said softly, "My dear, I've seen that Shanzi has always been good to you since you were little. He even carried you through the mud on rainy days. He truly cares for you. So just be with him from now on." I held up my bandaged hands. glaring at my dad and making urgent woof-woof sounds. Is this what you call truly caring for me? He spares no effort in both caring and beating. He truly wants to beat his daughter to death. Dad pressed down on my hands. Stay and recover well at Fiancé's house, and live a good life from now on. With my father's permission, Old Lee and Fiancé exchanged a knowing smile. I widened my eyes, desperate to get out of bed, enduring the pain, and stretched out my bandaged hand to write on the ground. Dad, I don't, but before I could finish, Fiancé stepped on my hand, instantly smudging the words into dust. Immediately after, he grabbed my hand tightly, glaring at me fiercely. The pressure increased sharply, and I gasped in pain, howling and feeling a burning sensation in my eyes. Fiancé, with his back to his father, glared at me fiercely while speaking in a gentle tone. Why are you so careless? His father stepped forward to check, but saw nothing. I tried to explain in a muffled voice, but couldn't utter a single word. Lee stepped forward to lift my feet. Quick, it's cold on the ground, let's lift her up. The scene was chaotic for a moment. Father looked at me deeply and said with heartfelt words, "Daughter, you are a patient now. Don't turn over casually." I looked despairingly at the thatch on the roof, feeling that my life was like that pile of thatch, forcibly placed in a seemingly reasonable position, full of despair and helplessness. Fiancé patted his chest and assured Father, "I'll add railings to this bed later, to ensure your daughter's safety, so she won't fall off again." Lee actively brought over a hammer, wood, and nails. "Add it now. My daughter-in-law's matters are of utmost importance." The sound of knock 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 echoed as the two of them busily installed the bed guardrails. The father smiled with relief. "Then I entrust my daughter to you." After saying that, he got up to leave. I stared fixedly at my father's back, struggling to let out a sob, my eyes growing warm with anxiety. My father waved at me. "Fiancé is a good person. I think he genuinely likes you. Live well together in the future. Don't think about those unnecessary things in the city. The city is so dangerous. It's better for a girl like you not to go out and wander around." My father turned to leave, and as he did, he also dragged Suemo away by the door, saying they needed to report to the police station to prevent him from causing trouble for others. I was in tears. The clanging sound of their hammering was like thunder, as they, father and son, wielded their small hammers, smashing the railing against the bed frame. Completely disregarding my feelings, I felt like I was running a fever, my head spinning, and in the midst of this heavy pounding, I drifted into a drowsy sleep. I don't know how long I slept in a stupor. When I opened my eyes again, the sky was bright, there was no one around, and the guardrails surrounding the bed were a full half-meter high. Seeing this height, I gave up the idea of trying to climb over it myself. It was possible to climb over, but it would require some effort, and there was the risk of breaking the other leg in the process. For now, recovering from my injury was the priority. When Fiancé saw that I was awake, he brought over some chicken soup and fed it to me while it was still hot. It's really hot, hot enough to scald the throat. I have to huff and puff several times before I can drink it. Fiancé kept urging me, "You have to drink it while it's hot to get the nutrients," but he could only persuade me if I didn't drink it while it was hot. He couldn't force it on me alone. Lee was very busy. As it was the season of rice harvest, Dad was also very busy, too occupied to even look after me. Fiancé was afraid I might have other thoughts, so he took my phone to keep it from me, preventing me from contacting the outside world. Every day, I would either watch the spiders on the roof or those on the windows. They weave the web, repair it when the fly breaks it, repair it again when the wind breaks it, busy and diligent, only catching a small mosquito after several days. The days are unbearably dull. Fiancé keeps trying to console me day after day. "Don't always think about the city and all that nonsense. It's you women who leave the village and never come back, running wild outside. That's why we men in the village can't find wives. Don't worry, I'll treat you well. You're the only woman in our family, and you'll be the head of the household in the future. Once you have a child, our father and son can support you too, and we'll never let you go hungry." I gave him a sidelong glance and, unable to help myself, retorted in my hoarse voice, "Nonsense, as if anyone can't afford to eat these days." Upon hearing this, Fiancé got so excited that he almost jumped up. "You can speak now? Great. You have no idea how scared I've been these days, afraid that if you couldn't speak, your dad would come after me, mentioning that cheap father of mine." I couldn't help but feel furious. "I've never seen anyone sell their daughter like he did," I said coldly. "Where's my phone?" Fiancé scrutinized me, cautiously asking, "What are you up to? Huh? What are you up to? What else can I do? My father has already taken the betrothal gift money. Can I still turn to him for help?" I said coldly, "I just want to let my dad know I'm safe." Fiancé hesitated, but still took out his phone and handed it to my bandaged hand. I made the call honestly, reporting that I was safe. On the other end of the line, my father excitedly said, "It's great that you've recovered. I knew old Lee's medical skills were extraordinary. Marrying into their family was definitely the right choice. I gave a casual hum. Immediately after, my dad asked mysteriously, Xiaoxue, are you alone? Is there anyone else with you? I slightly raised my head, meeting Shanzi's wide eyes and slightly waving hand, which was full of a threatening vibe, so I continued to hum into the phone. My dad assumed that meant no one else was around, saying, Xiaoxue, actually. After you graduated from university, I also plan to arrange your marriage to the Lee family. In our area, they are the only family with a doctor. If you marry him, it will be much more convenient for both of us if we ever get sick. I lowered my eyes, my gaze dim. Dad was still talking non-stop on the other end of the phone. I originally planned for you to go to university so that the Lee family would look up to us more and offer a bigger dowry. I didn't expect you to end up like this. But he's still willing to marry you. You should be grateful. I let out another and glanced at Shanzi, who was both lame and ugly, grinning foolishly at me. I told the person on the phone, I'm tired, and hung up. Dad, in your eyes, is your own daughter really so unworthy? But isn't this unworthiness, this wretched state I'm in, the result of your teachings? From a young age, you taught me to be gentle and kind, to be obedient and well-behaved, to be a docile sheep. But didn't you know that the fate of a sheep is to be slaughtered? Shanzi reached out his hand to me, indicating that I should hand over my phone. I clutched my phone tightly, my attitude firm. I'm bored lying here, watching a video or playing a game. Don't I even have that little freedom? Shanzi was left speechless. After a long while, he muttered something under his breath. You have a higher education, I can't argue with you. After another week of rest, I feel fantastic, Shanzi eagerly said. Let's go get our marriage certificate. My dad checked, and today is a good day. I pointed to my plaster-casted leg. I can't walk. Shanzi smiled and said, I'll carry you. I dissuaded him. Forget it. You're already limping. Don't end up both of us falling into a ditch. Shanzi scratched his head. Then my dad will carry you. I objected. If the villagers see this, they'll gossip. Let's wait for a better day. Shanzi could only nod and went to find Laoli for the almanac. Pondering the next auspicious day, the two of them pondered until midnight, and it was unclear if they had reached any conclusion, but the light was finally turned off. An hour later, I fumbled to get out of bed. Grabbed a broom by the light of my phone, dismantled the wooden stick inside it, and hobbled to the living room, found my ID, took some loose change, and limped away from there. Every step with my injured leg was excruciating pain. Crossing the road, I waited for about an hour before encountering a passing motorcycle. I rode it to the town, boarded a train, and limped back to school. My dad had called countless times along the way. I blocked him directly. Shanzi and Laoli also harassed me with calls, so I blocked them all. As for Suemo, it is said that he was taken to the police station by an old man from the countryside, who accused him of being a major trafficker and demanded he be locked up, yet had no idea what evidence was. The police station, following standard procedure, made a record and released him, unexpectedly, as soon as Suemo left the station. The old man from the countryside broke his leg. Sumo crawled back to the police station and confessed everything. Later, it was discovered that his ex-girlfriend had also been sold by him, and he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. I lay in the dormitory for 2 months, relying on the help of my roommates, and finally recovered from my leg injury. I began the hard life of working part-time to pay for tuition while studying. The school was far from my hometown. My father, who had been illiterate all his life, didn't even know which school I was attending, so naturally, he had no way of finding me. The bank card with the account number my father had noted down also never received any more money. Consider me an orphan. After completing my undergraduate and master's degrees, I started working at a hospital. Many people ask me, what kind of family could possibly have raised someone like you? I smiled but said nothing. What family? If we must call it a family, it would probably be the big family of society. Children from rural areas are pitiful. They learn to wash clothes, cook, and take care of their families at a young age, yet only figure out how to survive in society after they grow up. During one consultation, I encountered a special patient. She was a sallow, big-bellied woman, reeking of beer, sour and foul. Her eyes were dull. Upon hearing the doctor had arrived, she stared fixedly at my white coat without raising her head. Suddenly grabbing my hand, "Save me, save me." Her hands were rough, painfully abrasive. Instinctively, I pulled my hand back and took a step back. "What seems to be the problem?" she said tremulously. "I drank pesticide." As she spoke, she suddenly looked up, her breath reeking of alcohol hitting my face. "You must save me. I have children. I don't want to die." I calmly shifted to the side, facing the window, where the air was much fresher. While jotting down notes in my small notebook, I asked, "What kind of pesticide? Did you drink it with alcohol?" The other person was breathing heavily and did not respond for a long time. I turned my head to look and saw her wide-eyed, her trembling fingers pointing at me, as she screamed, "Xiaoxue, it's you, Xiaoxue. It's been 7 years, and you're still so fresh." I focused my gaze and suddenly realized that she was Xiaoyu, my cousin. Over the past 7 years, I've spent a lot of money on skincare to treat the scars on my face, so I look quite beautiful now. My cousin, on the other hand, has been exposed to the elements in the countryside, looking sallow and emaciated, no longer the young girl she once was. Immediately after, a limping man rushed into the room, staring at me in shock. I looked over with confusion and saw Shanzi. Seeing my white lab coat, Shanzi awkwardly clasped his hands together. "Xiaoxue, you must save your cousin." After saying that, he slightly lowered his head, not daring to meet my eyes. I asked, "Why are you here too?" Shanzi lowered his head even more. "I married your cousin, so that's how it is." I skipped many intermediate steps and directly told the nurse beside me, "Induce vomiting. No matter what pesticide was consumed, inducing vomiting is the priority." The nurse took my cousin to the vomiting room. I picked up the medical record and continued to ask Shanzi, "What kind of pesticide did the patient drink?" Shanzi stammered, "I don't know. Just the usual pesticide for weeding." "Does it matter?" I emphasized. "It's very important." Shanzi took out his phone and called loudly. Soon, Oldly sent a photo of the pesticide bottle. It read, "Paraquat." My heart sank, and I asked in a low voice, "How much did you drink? How long ago?" Shanzi appeared to be recalling. "A bottle. I've been drinking for half a day." "It's hopeless. She drank too much. The poison has already spread throughout her internal organs. Paraquat has no antidote." Shanzi continued. "When my dad found out, he immediately forced her to drink a lot of beer. 3 large bottles in total, then she vomited violently until she was completely exhausted. My dad said that wasn't enough, and we still needed to take her to the hospital to have her stomach pumped." I said in a low voice, "Prepare for the funeral." Shanzi suddenly grabbed my collar, furious. "Xiaoxue, you're taking personal revenge, aren't you?" I pushed him away, and 2 nurses stepped in front of me to protect me. Another nurse's expression changed, and she rushed out of the ward to call security. I held my medical record and said, "You're an educated person, you can look it up online. Is there a cure for paraquat?" Shanzi staggered and sat down on the ground, frantically searching Baidu, and finally looked up in despair, clutching at my trouser leg. "Isn't there still a 5% chance?" "Save her, please save her," I explained. "That's for those who drink a small amount. Your wife drank too much. Besides, she's my cousin. My own cousin. Do you think I want her to die?" Upon hearing this, Shanzi angrily pounded the floor with his fist. How could it be like this? How could it be like this?" The security guards arrived and dragged the frenzied Shanzi out. The nurse looked worried. "The fees haven't been paid yet." Shanzi, being dragged away, turned his head and shouted angrily, "You can't even save the person. What fees are you talking about? Pay for what?" I shook my head helplessly. "I'll pay the fees. Let Xiaoyu have a peaceful final journey." Xiaoyu came out after having her stomach pumped, her face pale as a sheet. I ordered wontons and gestured for her to sit down and eat with me. Xiaoyu sat on the stool, taking up only 1/3 of the space, and picked up the wontons, afraid that her dirty clothes would dirty my hospital room. After taking a bite, a smile couldn't help but spread across her lips. "The food in the city is so fragrant." I looked at her with pity in my eyes. "Then from now on, I'll treat you to delicious food every day." Xiaoyu's eyes welled up with tears of gratitude. "You're so good to me. I heard Shanzi hasn't even paid his medical bills yet, and you're the one who covered them." I nodded. "After all, we're sisters." Xiaoyu said sincerely, "Don't worry, I'll make sure that Jerk sends the money over to you as soon as I get back." I waved my hand. "No need." Xiaoyu looked puzzled, her gaze heavy, deeply fixed on me. "It seems like you're trying to discern something from my eyes," I explained. 7 years ago, thanks to you carrying me out of the mountains. Otherwise, as a cripple, I wouldn't have been able to get out of those mountains. If I hadn't gotten out, maybe it would have been me drinking pesticide today. 7 years ago, I limped, almost crawling out of the courtyard gate, luckily meeting Xiaoyu passing by. She carried me around the mountains and delivered me to the roadside. Xiaoyu was puzzled. "How did you know it was me who drank the pesticide?" "Just a guess, but it seems, I guessed right." I felt a sinking feeling in my heart. Silly Xiaoyu, why would you drink pesticide yourself? If anyone should drink it, it should be them. Xiaoyu, while eating wontons, tearfully told me about Shanzi's violence and heartlessness. Her eyes red. I was puzzled. "Then why did you marry him?" Xiaoyu's eyes were filled with regret. "Because I liked him. When I was little, I really liked him. Actually, when I sent you away that day, I had a bit of selfishness. As long as you left, Shanzi would be mine. I never expected that after he got married, he would change so much. Becoming very short-tempered, he either hit me or scolded me. Xiaoyu lifted her sleeve, showing the bruises on her arm. Shocking. I took the medicine box. Come, let's do a simple treatment. Alcohol sprayed freely onto the skin, dispersing into a thin mist, spreading a cool sensation. The mist coalesced into streams, creating faint ripples on the skin, making the bruises appear even more vivid. Just then, Shanzi burst into the ward and grabbed Xiaoyu by the collar. Quick, come with me to the obstetrics department. We're doing a cesarean. Xiaoyu pushed Shanzi away, frowning. You've always been against a cesarean, saying it's too expensive and a rip-off. Shanzi continued to pull at Xiaoyu's arm, but Xiaoyu dodged, nearly bumping into a nearby rack. She suddenly looked up, her gaze shifting between Shanzi and me. Are you hiding something from me? Shanzi and I exchanged a glance. One was afraid that if the truth was revealed, Xiaoyu would go crazy. The other was afraid that if the truth was revealed, Xiaoyu would be heartbroken. The sunlight outside the window was warm, while the atmosphere inside the room was suffocating. After pondering for a moment, I revealed the truth. You have only 7 days to live. There is no antidote for paraquat. Xiaoyu clutched her head in pain and slowly crouched down to the ground. How could this be? How could it come to this? I was just momentarily angry. How did it come to this point where I can't even live? Shanzi advised from the side. Let's do the surgery early, give birth to the child, maybe we can still leave behind a descendant. Xiaoyu's expression was complicated as she spoke in a low voice. Yes, I won't survive. The child might still have a chance. But, Shanzi, I want you to be present throughout the birth. I want you to remember the way I give birth to our child for you. I reminded her. The child is connected to the mother's body and might also be poisoned, so even if it's born, it might not survive. Shanzi exploded in anger, pointing at the tip of my nose and shouting, Shut up, don't talk nonsense. Xiaoyu pushed Shanzi's arm, leading him out of the ward. As they reached the door, Xiaoyu glanced back at me and whispered, Go see your father, he's not going to make it. Dad. These 2 words, strange yet familiar, that dark face, gradually remembered. After 7 years of wear, the resentment when leaving home has faded with time. The father who loved me, cared for me, and protected me during my childhood faintly appeared in my mind. I vaguely took leave and drove home. It had been 7 years since I last saw him. My family's thatched hut was even more dilapidated, with a corner of the roof collapsed. From a distance, I could see the dim yellow light inside. Pushing the door open, I saw my father hunched over, eating pickles with congee. 7 years had passed, and he had gone from a burly man weighing 180 pounds to a frail, skeletal old man with a hunched back. Seeing me, he stood up excitedly, nearly losing his balance and falling to the ground. Xiaoxue, my daughter, you're back. His voice trembled and was hoarse. Before finishing the sentence, tears welled up in my eyes. Next, only sobs came out of my mouth. My father reached out with his bony hand, his calloused palm landing heavily on my shoulder, unable to speak through his tears. 7 years and 3 months, you still remember me, an old man. My shoulder sank. When I was little, my dad was the most affectionate towards me. Even if I didn't do any farm work at all, he wouldn't hit me. I stood among the children, showing off my delicate little hands, receiving a pile of envious glances. My dad wouldn't dare hit me. I'm the little princess of the family. If he dares to hit me, I'll cry him to death. But now my dad hit me, the first time he ever hit me. And I didn't cry. I said in a low voice, Dad, I'm back. My father, with red eyes, pointed to the old cracked stool beside him. Sit. Then, hunched over, he walked towards the kitchen. Wait a moment, Dad will go and cook something for you. I didn't know you were coming back, so I didn't prepare any food. My father was still the same father who loved me, just as I remembered from my childhood. Perhaps, he has always loved me, but sometimes, the way he loves me, I cannot accept, because, in the name of love, he has bound me. In the past 7 years, I have seen a lot and understood a lot. I just have always been used to not going home. In my father's world, the Shan family is indeed the best household in the 10 or so villages. However, having seen the vast world outside, I know how bad the Shan family is. Father just wants me to marry the richest man in the surrounding villages, so I can live a carefree life with food and clothing taken care of. What's wrong with that? I called out to Father, Dad, don't cook. Let's go to the city to eat. Father turned his head to look outside, pulling his slack lips into a smile. But it's already dark, and the bus is long gone. How about tomorrow? This was a tone of negotiation. I pointed towards the direction of the road. The car is right there. We'll drive over. My father looked in the direction I pointed, his cloudy eyes trembling slightly, his expression complicated. All right, wait a moment. I need to go feed the pigs first. I haven't fed them tonight. I rubbed my forehead. How much can the pigs be worth? Just give them to a neighbor. I'll take care of you from now on. My father was astonished. You'll take care of me. How will you do that? I honestly replied. I'm now the head of the provincial hospital, with a high salary. I'm not short of money. In my father's cloudy eyes, there finally appeared some brightness, and he seemed more spirited. Good, good, good. My daughter has made something of herself. Then he hesitated. Then I'll go pack some clothes. Seeing his patched up clothes, I urged, don't bother packing, I'll buy you new ones. The car drove all the way into the city, and Dad cheered all the way. Good heavens, why is the road so wide? Wow, that light. It's so beautiful. Just keeping it on all night must use up a lot of electricity, right? Honey, how tall is this building? How can it be so tall that you can't see the top at a glance? I responded one by one, just as my father had done when I was a child. With great patience, the car sped through the city. Suddenly, my father fell silent. I turned my head to look, and saw him lying sideways in the passenger seat, his head slightly tilted back, his mouth slightly open, as if he had fallen asleep. I helped him adjust the seat downward, and my father woke up for a moment, looking at me nervously. I explained, it's more comfortable lying like this. Dad nodded slightly, tilted his head back, closed his eyes, and continued resting. If I had known that this would be the last time he closed his eyes, I would never have let him rest. The car stopped in front of my favorite hot pot restaurant. I called out to Dad twice, but there was no response. A bad premonition crept in. I reached up to check my father's breath, but there was no breath left, and his cheeks were ice cold. My father was right beside me, quietly gone. Even as he passed away, a satisfied smile lingered at the corner of his mouth. I burst into tears, violently turning the steering wheel, heading straight to the hospital. Hurry, my father's breathing has stopped. Please save him. The nurses were shocked. You have a father. My eyes welled up. Quick, get the stretcher. Stretcher, the nurse dissuaded. It's already cold, there's no saving it, I roared. Am I the doctor, or are you the doctor? Under my insistence, the nurses pushed my father into the intensive care unit. Adrenaline, defibrillator. The voltage was raised from 1000 volts to 2000 volts, to the limit, but my father's heart still wouldn't beat. The assistant frowned slightly and said cautiously, it's beyond saving. Please accept your loss. I accepted reality and took my father away. As I left the ward, I saw two familiar figures, Xiaoyu and Shanzi, each on a stretcher, pass by me, covered in blood. I hurriedly asked, what's going on? The nurse carrying the stretcher didn't even look up, rushing into the ward and closing the door behind her. The nurse following behind with the report recognized me and explained, that pregnant woman, during the cesarean section, suddenly grabbed the scalpel from the doctor and stabbed her husband who was there for the delivery. Alas, her intestines were pulled out, and feces were scattered all over the ward. I'm really puzzled. What kind of deep-seated hatred could a couple possibly have to end up in a situation where one is drinking poison and the other is stabbing someone? Oh, right, you're the family member, aren't you? Sign here, please. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.